Hey there, friends, it's Laurie. I'm happy you stopped by because today I'm making 3 Christmas in July DIYs. To help keep the cost down, I used Dollar Tree supplies along with a few things that I had on hand. And as always, I hope you have fun crafting with me. So let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using 2 of the square wooden boxes with drawers, and I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. Mine have the heart cutouts on the front. They do have different styles, and I'm going to be covering them. I'll be using 6 of the wooden tumbling tower blocks, and these came from the Dollar Tree as well. I'm attaching them together using my Starbond thick glue because it sets up natural wood super quick, and I do have the company linked below in my description in case you'd like to check it out. I'm attaching 2 blocks together, then centering the 3rd block on top of the 2. While those set up, I'm using a 7x2 wooden tray for the top of my DIY, and I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. Each side has an opening and I want to cover them, so once again I'm using 4 tumbling tower blocks. This time, instead of attaching 2 side by side, I'm attaching 2 end to end. My glued pieces are dry and I'm giving all 4 of them a coat of tan acrylic paint. I think this DIY would look great in the classic Christmas colors, but I want to try something different, so I thought I would go with a neutral tone. I'm also using the same Starbond thick glue and attaching the 2 wooden boxes that the drawers came in side to side. To raise the boxes up just a bit, I'm adding 4 tumbling tower blocks to the bottom. I added glue to all 4 corners and then attached the blocks. I'm using my white acrylic paint, painting the 2 drawers, the 2 attached boxes, and my tray. All of the painted pieces are now dry, and I'm going to add the handles onto the drawers. Because all of my pieces are painted, I am using my E6000 to attach them. I added some around each heart cutout and made sure when I attached the handle that it completely covered the opening. I'm covering both holes on the end of the tray, following the same instructions. I added on some E6000, then made sure I covered the opening. I'm decorating the drawers with 2 wooden stars from this Dollar Tree pack. I painted both with the same white acrylic paint. I added E6000 to the center of each handle and attached the stars. To accent the front of the tray, I'm using a wooden Believe sign from the Dollar Tree, and I painted this with the matching tan acrylic paint. I'm adding it onto my tray by first placing some E6000 on the back. I then turned it over and placed it against the front panel and level with the bottom. With that complete, I'm attaching my tray to the top of my boxes using more of my E6000. I let it set up for a couple of hours, and to finish up, I'm adding in my 2 star drawers. I decorated the top with some Christmas decor, and now my Believe tray is ready for the holidays. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below, leaving me a thumbs up, and to all my returning friends, you know I'm always so happy to see you. To make the pedestal for my bird, I'm starting with 2 glass hobnail style candle holders that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. They measure 3 inches each, and I removed the labels from the bottom. I'm attaching them both together using E6000. I added the glue to 1 candle holder and then attached the 2 tops together. I made sure they were evenly centered on each other and then let them set up for a couple of hours. To top it off, I'm using an almost 6-inch bird nest that I bought on Temu. I paid $1.28, but you need to check around because the prices do fluctuate on that site. I'm attaching it to the top of my pedestal using my E6000. I added on a generous amount, especially around the outer rim. I attached the bird nest, pressing it down in the glue. I gave the glue time to set up, and now I'm adding on some accents. I'll be attaching ivy first, and I'm using a stem that I picked up at a discount store for only 29 cents. I ended up buying 30 of them. I know they'll be great in future projects. Using my clippers, I clipped the individual stems off of the main stem. Using my glue gun, I'm attaching the ivy to the outside of the nest. I don't have a set pattern. I'm just doing my best to try to evenly space it as I'm working my way around the outside. I use the ivy as my base greenery, but there are so many other choices out there. You can always change it up and use something different. After I finished adding the ivy to the sides, I turned it over and I used my leftover pieces, attaching them to the bottom of the nest. When I was done, I had a few small pieces of ivy left over, so using my hot glue gun, I attached those around the top of the nest. The next layer of greenery that I'm adding to the bird's nest is called snow greenery, and I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. It's a light green and it does have a sparkle to it. The sprigs were easy to remove, so I just popped them off from the main stem. To make the ends easier to slide into the bird's nest, I snipped them off at an angle. I'm adding the greenery, working my way around the center, just like the ivy, and hot gluing the pieces into place. You can always add yours so that it's hanging down straight, but I'm attaching mine at a slight angle. As I'm working my way around, I'm trying to fill in those open spaces between the ivy. I've now worked my way up to the top of the bird's nest, adding in the greenery and following the same slight angle. Now that I'm done, to make this a Christmas pedestal, all that's missing is some snow. I found a wintry willow stem at the Dollar Tree, and this will work perfect. Just like the greenery, I'm using my clippers and cutting away individual pieces. I'm attaching them just like the greenery, using my glue gun and adding some pieces here and there to fill in those empty spaces. I love how the white snow on the brown stems brought the greenery to life. And when I finished working on the sides, I then moved to the top and added more pieces. Now that I'm done, I want to add in a pop of color, so I'm using some red berries from this Dollar Tree stem. They're sparkly and pretty, and I cut them into smaller clusters. I used my glue gun and attached them around the middle of the bird's nest. I only had so many, so after I evenly spaced them, I used whatever I had left over around the bottom. To finish up this Christmas DIY, there's only one thing left to add. I found this pretty white porcelain bird at the Dollar Tree. It has a texture to it, and I'm going to place it onto the top. I would normally glue it in place, but I'm thinking if I find a red one, I might like to interchange them. And with that, this pretty holiday bird on a pedestal is complete. To make my Christmas Joy sign, I'm using an 18.5 by 4.5 inch hanging wooden decor piece from the Dollar Tree. I removed the hanger and I'm painting it with my white acrylic paint. Now that it's painted, I'm placing it aside to dry. I'm using a J and a Y. They're 4-inch letters. They were originally ornaments and I picked them up on clearance at Walmart. They're made of a thick cardboard and they're covered in glitter, so I'm using a piece of sandpaper and I'm going to remove as much of that as possible. These were originally ornaments and they both came with hanger holes on the top. To cover the holes, I'm using some crystals from the Dollar Tree diamond wrap. I snipped some off and then cut them into individual crystals. You can use any color, I just happen to have the clear ones on hand. I'm placing a dot of E6000 on each hole and then attaching a crystal. I gave them some time to set up and now I'm painting both with my red acrylic paint. With all three of my pieces dry, I'm going to attach them together. I first like to find their placement on the sign, and then I turned them over and attached both with my E6000. To make the hanger for my Joy sign, I'm using some pretty Christmas striped ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I decided how long I wanted it to be, and then I used a skewer to help me push the ribbon through the holes. Once in place, I tied knots in the back. I then added a couple of dots of hot glue to help hold them in place. To make my wreath in the center, I'm using some wired garland ties from the Dollar Tree. Because it's wired, I'm first twisting two of the ends together. Now to get my size, I'm placing it on the sign and wrapping the ends around each other to figure out how big I want to make the wreath. Then to hold the size, I wrap the two ends around the circle. To make my wreath wider, I'm wrapping two more of the garland ties together. To help hold my wreath together, I'm using some short pieces of floral wire. I attached one end of the garland to the wreath and then held it in place with my wire. I gave it a couple of twists and then left the ends of the wire open. I continued wrapping the garland around and then held it in place with the 2 pieces of wire. You can always snip off the extra. I just folded mine over. To finish up making the wreath, I wrapped 2 more ends of garland together. This time, to hide the wires, I wrapped one end of the garland around the wreath. I followed the circle and then wrapped the other end in and out through the opening. To finish up and make it just a little bit thicker, I'm using 1 garland tie and a piece of floral wire. I'm wrapping the garland more towards the inside so both ends will meet, and then I'm securing them in place with my piece of floral wire. You can always add a simple bow and attach it as is, but I'm going to decorate mine with some Mardi Gras beads. For my wreath, I chose the colors of red, green, and gold. Using my scissors, I snipped off a bunch of individual beads. Decorating the wreath is super easy. I placed down a dot of hot glue and added on an ornament. I alternated my colors of red, green, and gold as I worked my way around the wreath. I've actually made these wreaths in smaller versions for other projects using all of the different colors of Mardi Gras beads. I'll link my holiday and Christmas playlist at the end of this video as well as in my description in case you'd like to check them out. My wreath is complete, but I want to add on a bow, so I'm using the same Christmas stripe ribbon to match the hanger. I then made a small, simple bow. When I was done, I cut the ends off at an angle. With my bow complete, it's now as simple as hot gluing it onto the wreath. With my bow in place, I'm now hot gluing it between the J and the Y on my sign. Now that I'm done, my Christmas Joy sign is perfect for the holidays. Here we are at the end of the video, and I really hope you had fun making these Christmas in July DIYs with me. If you're new to my channel and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. If you like to make seasonal and holiday decor for your home, I'll leave some links at the end of this video as well as in my description. I hope you have an amazing day, stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody!